It is time once again for the Morning Mindset. My name is Kerry Green, and I welcome you if you're new to the Morning Mindset. Thank you for taking the time, not just to listen, but to align your mind with the truth of God this morning. Because that really is what matters for each and every one of us who call ourselves Christ followers, is that we are daily seeking to set our minds on His truth so that it can affect the way that we live. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm number 104, and in yesterday's episode, I mentioned this concept of gaining perspective as we view the things going on around us. And Psalm 104 is full of perspective, the kind of perspective that puts God in His rightful place in our minds and the way that we think of Him, and puts us in our proper place so that we can view things rightly. Psalm 104 is going to outline a great deal of God's creative work from the standpoint of the created world around us to show just how great and how glorious He really is. Let's begin reading. It says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching out the heavens like a tent. He lays the beams of His chambers on the waters. He makes the clouds His chariot. He rides on the wings of the wind. He makes His messengers winds, His ministers a flaming fire." In all of that imagery, we're being given the idea that God is great. He's far above us. All the things that we see that are kind of a mystery, like how the heavens are laid out above the earth, how the waters work, how the clouds and weather cycles happen. All of that is being used to show that God not only created those things, but He rules over them. They serve Him. Let's keep reading in verse 5. "He set the earth on its foundation so that it should never be moved. He covered it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. And at your rebuke they fled. At the sound of your thunder they took to flight." Now that's all a reference back to the Genesis account of creation, that waters covered the entire earth and the Lord separated the water from the dry land. And that's what verse 7 is talking about. It goes on, it says, "The mountains rose, the valleys sank down to the place that you appointed for them. You set a boundary that they may not pass, so that they might not again cover the earth. You make springs gush forth in the valleys. They flow between the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. Beside them, the birds of the heavens dwell. They sing among the branches. From your lofty abode, you water the mountains. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of your work." This section has a whole lot of fingers pointing toward things that we would call the weather cycle, the water cycle, and the way that the world works and the environment functions with clockwork precision to provide life for everything on the earth. He mentions springs. He mentions the beasts of the field. He mentions the birds of the heaven, and how the entire earth is satisfied with the fruit of God's work. Continuing, "You cause the grass to grow for the livestock and plants for man to cultivate, that he may bring forth food from the earth and wine to gladden the heart of man, oil to make his face shine and bread to strengthen man's heart." You see, he's pointing back to God as the provider. And he's done so through this great thing of the environment and the way that the world works. You see, David's hope here is not only to praise God by recounting what God has done, but to point out how powerfully in control our God is. Everything around us functions with a perfect sense of order and timeliness because He has made it to be so. My friends, take the time today to notice around you what God has done, what He is doing to sustain life and to cause it to flourish. That is who your God is today. I encourage you to look at the circumstances of your day in light of that perspective.